if you were going to kick the meeting off.
Okay, is it 6:30?
It's 6:34.
Okay.
Yep. So you just want to say, I'm sorry, and don't.
No, go right ahead.
Okay.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, you just want to say, you call the meeting to order.
Yep.
And then just remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded and live streamed on Westborough TV, and then you just go down the agenda.
Okay.
And if you want, you can certainly do it. It's not hard, but if you
No,
want me to
okay.
do it, I'm happy to. Yeah. Okay.
Jennifer, do you know the Wi-Fi?
It's Westborough. It's Town Hall, and then the password's Westborough.
Are we ready?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Westborough TV ready? Yeah.
So good evening. We're called to order the Golf Club Building Use Committee. Just a reminder, this is being recorded live on Westborough TV. Ian will be here shortly. And I guess we'll start with convening the meeting. Welcome, everybody. And then the golf course, do you want to go?
Sure. So I think the first agenda item is the call, Matt and I's presentation.
Right.
So,
Matt, do you want to do your presentation?
I mean, mine's very quick.
Yeah.
This will be longer, so.
Just a little bit longer. It won't take too long.
Okay, great.
I think you have a TV right in front of you here that you can see.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Just so you don't have to turn your neck. Okay. So my name is Jen. I'm the recreation director here in town, and I'm just going to go through a few slides of what the recreation department is currently offering and what I think we can do if we were to have a little bit of our own dedicated recreation space at the golf course. So this is our mission statement. The Westborough Recreation Department operates and oversees a dynamic array of programs, events, playgrounds, parks, fields, and even a golf course. We strive to serve all of our residents and encourage everyone of all ages and abilities to engage with our lively sports, creative programs, and remarkable facilities. Play more. So our current programs include a variety of sports programs, especially as we're heading into the summer. We offer a little bit of everything, including a golf camp that's held right at the golf course for 3 weeks. We offer an array of educational programs from STEM to chess to engineering, a bunch of art programs. We also strive to offer adult programming as much as possible. Currently, we have badminton, women's softball, men's basketball, and we're also a part of many special events in town, like the block party, the Main Street Trick or Treat, and the winter stroll. Facilities. We manage currently over 30 outdoor facilities. Our biggest hurdle when it comes to our programming is not having any dedicated indoor space for us to use. Any programming that we do is done in the schools, the senior center, or at a vendor site. We are great partner. The schools are great partners. They work with us as much as they can, but they have their own procedures that they need to follow as well. So we aren't allowed into the schools until 6 p.m. We have limited or no use on school vacations, and we're charged to use the schools on the weekends. And rightfully so, they have their own costs to cover. This is not in any way, shape, or form negative towards the schools. It's just the current limits that we face here in town. So programming possibilities at the golf course, if we were to have some dedicated space over there, birthday parties, parents' night out, half-day or vacation programs, a teen night, it would just give our department some flexibility to be more creative. And so on the next slide here, yes. So considerations, with all that said, all these ideas that our department would have, it would be the golf course comes first, because I do feel like this building should support the golf course and golf course operations. So we would, Matt and I work very closely. All of this program Matt and I would likely do together. And a lot of this programming that I mentioned on the last slide would be done during the off season, December, January, February, things like that. And I think and I know Matt's going to talk about this, having our own dedicated space would give us the opportunity to put in a golf simulator that we had talked about, that was on the capital plan that we actually had pulled off due to space. I believe that these simulators they are not only for golf, you can also have other sports on them. So it would give us some flexibility to do, parents' night out, drop your kids off, we'll get pizza, kids can use the simulator, play whatever sport. And then also these programs don't necessarily pertain to golf, but it's also exposure to the golf course. Maybe a parent drops their kid off at the golf course and it's like, wow, I never even realized this was here. So again, just having a little bit of dedicated space would just give the rec department a lot of flexibility to be creative and to expand our programming even more. That was all I had. I don't know if anyone had any specific questions for me. Matt's going to dive a lot deeper into the glove side of things, but that's the rec side. Okay.
Yep.
I don't know why you can't see it here.
Oh, that's kind of strange.
You can take it from here. You know how to use the computer.
A little bit. All right. All right, so first, just want to start off with a little bit of history of Westborough, just in case everybody doesn't know about it. It was originally a farm when it was first created called Turkey Hill. Of course, was founded in 1921. Originally, that's obviously the building that we're talking about as it originally stood. Originally, the course was only 7 holes. Bill Spence created the last 2 holes in 1935. He kept up as the greenskeeper from 27 to 1967. It was bought by Bay State Golf in 1945, purchased by the town in 74. Currently, 110 acres, 32 acres are reserved for the trails and conservation areas. In 2018, it was originally called Westborough Country Club. In 2018, it was changed to Westborough Golf Club because the term country club usually donate tennis, pools, so this is just a golf club, so that was kind of why we changed the name. That current building that we have was built in 1910. So that's just a little overshot of the golf course itself. Obviously, we are where that red dot is. Just so you could kind of see an overlay of where we are in kind of relation to the town and the sports fields in the back. So we are a very busy 9-hole golf course. We did 35,000 plus rounds last year, and those are starts. So an 18-hole round at a 9-hole course counts as 2 rounds because it's 2 starts on the first tee. So that's a pretty busy 9-hole golf course. We currently have 9 leagues that we have at the course. Some we run, some are outside leagues that run themselves, but they all come through the golf shop. We have 20 to 25 member events that we run for all of our golf members throughout the league, and that can be club championships, ABCD tournaments, things like that. We have 2 to 3 public outings, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a little bit. On a busy day, on an average day like a Friday, we usually do about 287 golfers, which we start teeing people off at 6:30, we go straight to almost 7 o'clock at night every 8 minutes. So it's a busy spot. Our green fees have been on a very positive trend ever since COVID. COVID was a big boom to the golf industry because it was the only thing anybody could do, and we've been keeping that momentum going. But eventually we will hit some sort of plateau because there's just so many things we could get done there. We can't hold any outside events right now because there's no food and beverage space, and we'll talk a little bit more about these in between as I kind of go on too. Inability to host our own events, which again we will talk about more in a little bit. These are just some factors that we have that can keep our revenue going up throughout the season or throughout the years, and just the ability to give the best experience to our golf customers, which is one of my most important things. So the first thing I want to talk about is hosting outside events. Right now we can't do that because any event wants to have lunch, dinner, breakfast, both, an area to award prizes, all that kind of stuff, which we can't offer. So they have to have their tournament at our spot and go somewhere else, and they lose a lot of players participating in that. So we're not a very hot spot for those outside events. Charity events are big spots. Monday is not a very busy day for us, so we could easily get a lot busier on Mondays if we have an ability to have some sort of food and beverage component to the golf. We could tie that into business meetings, and these aren't things that we will do, these are just things I have done in the past. Things that we have been able to use the clubhouses for to maximize revenue potential. And then off-season business. Obviously golf is a seasonal area, and we want to try to maximize the space in the golf course as much as we can. So the first question a lot of people have is, why should the ability to host those, how is it good for the golf course, and how is it good for everybody else in town? So, just like I said, revenue generating on slower days. Being able to identify slower times and be able to work around programs, outings, things like that, that can fill those time slots with revenue generating and make the course more profitable and more busy on slower times. And then we'd also have the opportunity to have Westborough charities come in and hold events, because right now they have to go to other towns in order to have their events. Where if we could keep them here, we get to support our own charities and not have to go to Northborough, Grafton, another spot to hold golf events. Things that we have done or I have done in the past that we would be able to use to generate interest and revenue at the club. I've done Take Your Daughter to the Course Days, which always has food and beverage, whether it's a barbecue outside or just little things. We're not talking 5-star dining, just hot dogs, hamburgers, things like that. Women's golf events, which, Terry and I have run a few at the club, but we could do so many more things in the future if we had an area that is dedicated to that kind of stuff. Patriot Golf Day is a big PGA. I'm sure if everybody was watching the PGA Championship this weekend, they had a lot of ads for the Patriot Golf Day on there. Couples golf, 9 and dines, things like that a lot of courses do in the area that we could utilize and make the golf course even better experience. And then giving the customer the best experience possible. A lot of golfers, there's a big social aspect to the game of golf. Playing 9, 18 holes, coming in, having an adult beverage or a Coke, whatever you wanted, and just, talking about the round. And that's a big spot of the game of golf. Right now, our golfers leave, go somewhere else. Whether they go home or they go to another bar/restaurant in the area, it's usually where they go. And we're unable to award prizes at the end of an event. We had an event this weekend that our first couples event of the year, biggest one we've ever had. We were unable to give announcements, hand those prizes out to anybody because everyone left. So those little things can make the golf course a step above where we are right now. It's all the image and all the perception. And then off-season business. Now, off-season business, because we've never done it, is obviously the biggest spot where we can utilize the space. Golf simulators being the biggest, and Jen mentioned it as well. A lot of the modern-day golf simulators are not just golf. They are tennis, they are baseball, they are hockey, they're soccer. So that could all be utilized in one facility and be able to do many of the parties that Jen was talking about. We can run leagues. For golf is steady and busy all year, and they don't even have the capacity to handle their business. People can just play rounds of golf. We can have winter memberships, being able to use that space and use social media to market the golf course during the winter time, so everyone always has golf course on the mind. And all of those simulators of the simulators in the area all have food and beverage presence, so you can always get a hot dog or a burger or a beer or a Coke or whatever. Functions during especially during the winter and off-season months, bridal showers, baby showers, anything like that, birthday parties, those are all things we'd be able to utilize space for, and I have in the past, and just to, again, take the golf course to a different level. So I know I ran through that pretty quick. Does anybody have any questions on that kind of stuff? Things I've done in the past?
I do.
Yes.
When you talk about the past, since I haven't been here since the Civic was really open, are you talking about with the Civic Kitchen? You held
No,
those
I'm
things or
talking
no?
about courses I've been at in the past.
Okay,
We've
so-
never really had that kind of relationship, even when Civic was there.
Okay.
Civic and golf was golf. There wasn't we were getting to the point where the partnership was starting again, but there was no partnership involved with Civic in the last, in the last part of it, unfortunately.
But Matt, but there also wasn't the space available to do the things that you're mentioning.
Yes, like we saw when we toured the building, there wasn't really an area
Right.
that we could have those functions at.
So speaking of space, I know it doesn't take up a lot, but there is, you know, the retail pro shop aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Is that profitable at all? Is it making, you know, any meaningful revenue coming from there? Or is that?
Yeah, the golf shop definitely makes revenue. We're starting from scratch, so it takes about a year or two to really start making good revenue in the shop. But you know, once we get to that point, you know, the shop size that we have right now is fine. I mean, it's a good size shop for a 9-hole golf course. I wouldn't expect it to get any bigger. It's a perfect size for us. And yeah, it will. The more we run that shop, because we've only been running it now about 18 months, the more profitable it becomes.
Other questions?
Any other questions? All right, that's all for me.
Thank you. Sorry, apologize for being late. And Maura, thank you for stepping up. Sorry the doors were locked.
I know, I don't know what I was thinking.
So next, I think, Jen, you're up for,
Oh, sure.
you did?
Yours we flipped, because
Oh, you
I
flipped.
mine was shorter.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
it was really short.
yeah, well, we were very prompt.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I just ran through sort of what we currently do now and just some ideas that we had for our own, if we had our own dedicated space, and just how we're limited that we don't have our own dedicated indoor space. And my, you know, kind of ideas were more around like birthday parties, teen nights, parent night out. You know, we work with the schools very well, but, you know, we can't use their space when, you know, it's school vacation week, so being able to run school vacation programs, things like that. If we had just a little corner, you know, down at the golf course, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to be creative. It's the Cliff Notes version.
Great. Okay, so any follow-on questions for Jen or for Matt? Are those the only two you did?
So I guess I've got a follow-up question, Matt. You're talking a lot about, you know, having food service and all that. So is your vision that that would be something that the golf course would run, or it would be town run? Or are you thinking of partnering with a Civic, an outside restaurant to come in?
I didn't have, for me, it doesn't matter which is which, whether it's, you know, a town run or an outside agency. It's just working with whoever that entity is. That's all that I was thinking about.
I think
I wasn't thinking in specifics.
just for the group's benefit, as far as I know, there's just like how Matt said, there was just zero relationship with the restaurant and with the golf course prior. So I think going into this, if we were going to go the restaurant route, I think that just from what Matt and I have discussed, just starting off that whatever business or restaurant comes in there should be catered towards the golf course. You know, not just open for dinners, you know, 6 to 9, like being open and so catering towards the golfer, but just having more of a relationship, because they're really, it was non-existent.
And being available.
And being available, similar to how other golf courses kind of operate.
So other golf courses operate with a restaurant, and then they have a separate catering portion that will serve service parties and.
No, it's usually the same,
Right, no, that's
yeah.
what I mean, but this, right. But, in the past, prior to Civic, there were events that were catered by the restaurant. Because I had been to several, had you there?
Just more like the high school
Right.
events.
Right.
You know, like the
I've been to
boys
a couple
golf.
Birthday parties. and stuff.
Yeah. It was just constrained by the configuration and the size.
Right.
Yeah, but I think Matt's right in terms of the relationship that we would have between the golf and the restaurant.
Yeah, and I think that, two things there. I think it's, from the select board side, I don't think that having the town run a restaurant is probably a smart idea. And actually, I'm not sure that we can. Like right now, like we tried actually selling alcohol on the course, but the town can't sell alcohol. So we had to stop that practice, like, you know, because that was one of the things, well, because we can't give ourselves a liquor license. So I think that would be difficult, plus it's not kind of our core business. So I would think it would be something that we would partner with somebody similar to what's been done in the past. I think, though, if again, this committee is, says, hey, we think there needs to be a restaurant, we think it needs to, kind of be aligned with the golf enterprise. I would think that would be something that we would say that's what we would recommend, and then that would be put into an RFP and requirements, and that would be part of the criteria for choosing somebody, and part of what would go into a contract if we went that direction.
So you can stipulate that in our.
Absolutely.
You need to be available for nachos at the drive, the simulator or
Yeah.
events.
Yeah, and I think that, too, whatever is determined, again, if that's the recommendation, whether it's rehabbing the building that's there, whether it's deciding that a new building would be better, either way, I think if you did that, you'd want to, as we saw there, it didn't really flow. There really was no flow there for the course, so I think that would be something that could be a much better and make it, easier, make it better for the restaurant, but better for golfers too, to, whether it was, they had that one door there, but it, again, wasn't handicap accessible, it wasn't, you kind of came into the back of the bar and things like that.
It was not efficient.
No.
So there's almost like two paths for this. One is obviously catering to the existing community of golfers, but there's also the recreation department's possible utilization of the space, right? Which is, like, what are we doing now, for example, for events that the town needs to, or we have to look for a building and we have to keep the building open, and there's more.
Yeah, we use the schools, so a lot of our, like the block party, the winter stroll, a lot of that stuff is, a lot is outside, but
Right.
our summer programs, we run through the schools, all of our, like the STEM classes, engineering classes I was talking about, we use the schools, but we can't start till 6 o'clock. So even if, December, the course is closed, there's event space over there, maybe we can run an after-school program at 3:30 in this space as opposed to 6 o'clock.
Right.
And again, it would, our rec stuff maybe would come second to any
Sure.
golf-related things, but
Right.
yeah, so we're just, the schools are great partners, I just want to reiterate that, it's just they're limited, they have their things going on as well, there's just, it is what it is, so.
So what I'm hearing from both of you guys is, so if there was a restaurant there, you'd also like a separate space for meetings, classes, banquets.
Simulators.
I think any kind of function area is all I would
Right.
really call
So
it.
some sort of function.
So even if there was just a restaurant that had a banquet room,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, that's all that's all I
that they could
envision.
service and bring
Yes, if they
cater to.
wanted to
If
run their
that
own
was
party,
part
then it
of
would just be
right.
communication between them and us, and
Yeah.
the room is booked this day, we do it the next day, or anything like that.
But are you
But that's
talking
for-
more?
yeah.
Are you talking more about, the way I'm hearing it, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm hearing there should be like there's an opportunity to have an active space. So you could do simulators, any kind of like, casual nights for people to get together in town, get something to eat, play some games or something. That's kind of a really casual space. Then there's another one where you can do, you mentioned like showers and bridal showers, and that's in my
Golf
mind, a more of a
events.
formal function room, which Civic we don't have that right now.
Oh, no, not at all.
In that building.
I would think in my mind, I'm thinking one banquet room could service both of those things, right? Like, could the golf simulator, does it need a dedicated space, or is that something you can just set
Yeah,
up?
we need that.
No, it's a
It's a
dedicated
dedicated,
space.
okay.
Yeah, because
Alright.
you need certain dimensions.
I see.
It has to be set up in a way that if someone hits a ball, it has to be where it's not going to bounce around the room and get somebody. And,
Think of it like axe throwing.
Yeah.
But I
yes,
thought it was a simulator, I didn't, there's.
yeah, you
not-
hit
there's an
full
actual
golf
ball.
balls.
Yeah.
It's an overhead projector kind of like that with
Right.
units on the floor.
I thought the ball was also virtual.
Nope, unfortunately, you hit a real
gotcha.
golf ball.
Gotcha.
But you know what, if you go over to like 4 in Westborough, they have a bar, they've got simulators. I mean, that's their business, but they also have a relationship with the restaurant downstairs, so they serve
I
food.
see.
But it's a very casual kind of place, people talk
Like
and
a sports
gather.
bar, kind
Yeah,
of.
so
Yeah.
I'm just hearing you, that's how I envision like, and it makes sense, right? I mean, you hear about like, Bed Bath and Beyond, those buildings that are being foreclosed, they're using those for simulators. Like, there's a big market now, and a lot of people trying to get out and do something more active in the winter when you can't go outside. So it seemed like it'd be a nice thing for the town where you get people gathering together.
Yeah, and those could be utilized all year too.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
Rainy
days like
days.
today when it's pouring
Or
rain.
fixing a
Yeah,
swing
and
before
just on a
a tournament.
side note, back to Four Golf from our select board meeting last night, they have the opposite issue. They do really well in the winter.
Yeah,
This is their slow time, so they just came in, we just gave them a billiard license, so they're putting in 2 pool tables to hopefully attract folks to use their space, because they, again, similar to what Matt's talking about, how do you use the space throughout the year? Simulators, I think, for you would be great for rainy days, but also in
For that
winters.
3-month
Season.
period. Luckily for
For
us,
them,
our
maybe
off
just
season's
fill
only
their
3
space in the
months.
summer.
yeah.
Where
Yeah,
the
the winter's
summer
summer
is
special.
6 to 8 for them.
Right.
I think though the building is pretty deceptively like large. I mean, when you think about all the space.
there?
Yeah. So even, you know, acting within the current footprint, I mean, basement's, you know, the basement's a disaster.
It's about 70
I mean,
It's over 7,000.
It's about 7,200 square feet, the basic footprint of the building.
That's just the footprint.
Yeah, that's just the footprint.
Footprint
yeah, so.
first and second
Including the
floor.
deck?
So
Or
there's a
not?
lot of.
No, that's
Okay,
just the
so
footprint of the
house-
actual
That
building.
is a lot of Yeah, there's a lot of space that can be reworked. Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for the space.
I mean, basically, they took a house and they put a restaurant in a house. It's right, it's been retrofitted for a restaurant. It hasn't been rebuilt for a restaurant. It's not ready, it's, in my mind, after, you know, after doing the tour, it is absolutely not ready for the next 10, 20 years. If what, it's gonna be like a Band-Aid approach, or let's just do something that's gonna last for a while.
Well, how do we address the fact that we're trying to use this one structure for so many different things? Is it that the town sort of owns the building, they lease it out to a restaurant if a restaurant comes in? And then part of it is owned and maintained by the town itself, like the recreation type space?
Yeah, what would happen is, that so the town owns the building. Town owns the
Right.
property, town owns the golf course, the 110 acres.
Give or
Certain
take.
parts of the town, conservation controls some of this, and nothing can be done on that, that's all for conservation, trails, whatever, but it works well
Yeah.
with the golf course. And then the building, well, the way it operates now, the building is owned by the town is required to do all the maintenance. The golf course being part of the town
Yeah.
is covered, but it basically pays for itself for those fees and electricity, and that all gets billed to their budget through the town. I mean, the town doesn't pay for it, it's all raised, which is a nice thing, it's revenue generating. The restaurant, though, is a lease. So the town owns the building, the restaurant pays the town rent.
Right.
And they also, what has happened in the past, that's why when we looked at it, and it's something we would have to consider, restaurants, in a lot of cases, you build the kind of footprint for the restaurant. You may put your own equipment in, and I think that's something we need to learn
Yeah.
what to do, but in this case, the owners have always put
Right.
most of the equipment in. So they've brought in the grills, the fryer-laters, all that type
Yeah.
of stuff, so.
So I guess the reason why I was asking is if we assume, you know, you have a restaurant space that comes here and leases it, there's also that other component, which is event space or flex space, whatever you want to call it, right? Who maintains that flex space when you have events? Do we have to assume we have to have staffing, for example, right? Or do the people sort of, the town itself figure that out?
Yeah, I think it all depends. And
Yeah.
I think that's where we're going with the question, I think, because like right now, when you look, that back section, there's kind of what I'll call the pro shop, and
Yeah.
Matt's office off the pro shop, and then you have, we call it a function room, it's a small
We call it the
meeting
Meeting
room.
room.
The meeting room. That's part of the golf operation, and then there's a men's and women's locker room
Okay.
in there. I think there's bag storage downstairs.
It's just a
room,
room.
closet.
Yeah.
Right, but so that is all town-owned, town-maintained, but that's, again, covered by the town and the staff that staffs the golf.
So potentially that could be the staff that takes part ownership of the, not ownership, I'm saying ownership, I don't mean
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Part maintenance of the building is something that could be outsourced.
Yeah, and so actually, the other piece to it is, so we have a buildings and grounds department that takes care of all the town buildings, including that building today, and that falls under our Department of Public Works.
Got it,
So
okay.
you have an issue, electrical problem, whatever, they're gonna make sure that gets fixed. Matt, we don't have someone on staff there that,
Yeah.
that does that.
Yeah, I contact
Yeah,
whoever, and then they come and
Yeah.
help us out.
We would be run just like all the other town buildings and.
Yeah.
yep,
You got it. Okay.
yep.
And I think maybe, if I sort of heard your question, like, if we were gonna, if like the rec department was gonna run a teen night, and we were gonna use that space, we would have our own staff come in.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
like we've done them at the schools, in which just us
Yeah.
or kids, but we would kind of staff that stuff ourselves.
Got it.
And same thing, I guess, would depend on like, if we did showers and stuff, I'm not 100% sure, but
Yeah.
it would be staffed by whoever was kind of owning that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless
and I would imagine, this is my thinking though, that kind of bifurcating the two, so kind of what is in the golf space, and I don't know, because if you want food and beverage, I think you'd want that to be part of the lease and have the restaurant folks operate the function room.
Yeah.
And
For
again,
those events.
yeah, for those events, they would staff that with
Yeah.
bartenders and all that. The town's not gonna
Right.
do that, but if it was an event, I think that Matt was talking about, a golf league with the simulators, whatever, that would be run in the town space, but they could
They could go to the restaurant space and support that area.
support that, or you could cater, I mean, if you did it right, they could
Yeah,
bring food in,
in.
something like that, I mean, that's,
Yeah, there's tons of ways that can actually be
Back to
worked out.
RFP.
That's a long way down the road.
Yeah.
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 But that's kind of a big picture, think about it, again, that is if the route goes, I mean, it sounds like here, having some space, having restaurant space on Matt's side, as I heard it, having some function space, town stuff, recreation-wise. There is discussion, as folks have heard in town, about a broader community center. Who knows if and when that will happen? But that, right now, what we're stuck with is what Jen said, is that, we do have a gap in facilities, I'd say today, for recreation during the school year and those after school till 6 o'clock time. But again, from our committee's charge here, if we think there are other pieces, and this will get me to the next agenda item, I think, because
Right.
Christie gave us some information there, but if we think there's other things that should go there, in essence, not a restaurant, that would be the recommendation that we would make back.
Good.
So before this question, is there any other question on that? I'll go in from what Christie sent us and on the information. So she did go out to request information from other town departments, and basically what she sent back was that related to other departments, no departments identified a specific need, though some noted the need for meeting space. Her opinion is that the need for meeting space does not have to be met at this specific location, as the town also has to consider the future use of the Harvey Building on Parkman Street and the Forbes Community Building, which is down where the food pantry is and next to, so the two other town-owned buildings. And the Harvey Building, when we did this building use assessment that came up with that $800,000, we also had that same company do the Harvey Building. We've just prioritized the golf thing, but we're gonna be looking at that Harvey Building as well, but that's a town-owned property. So, but I think basically, no specific needs, but I guess it's similar to Jen's thing, if there was some town-controlled meeting space, that would be a benefit.
Okay.
Okay, any questions on that piece?
Nope.
Next is the survey questions. I think everyone has those. Everyone have?
Here's an extra.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you didn't have the agenda either. So these are questions that I don't know that folks have had a chance to go through. Just some stuff again that Christine, she did apologize for not being here. So as you know, these have been sent in to Owen in the select board's office. He's already been looking at survey tools, and so he looked at 3 different ones. What he came back with is that he's proposing that we use SurveyMonkey for the tool. He basically said that tool has a better analytics side, is cleaner and easier to customize. And town already has a paid subscription, thus we wouldn't need to spend any more money since the town already pays for that, so that's a good thing. And he started to putting some of the questions of the survey so he can do that. I don't know if we could, can you share that? Yeah, because I think we,
Yeah, I've used SurveyMonkey a lot in the past. It's
Same.
excellent.
Yeah.
It's easy. You
Yeah.
get tons of
User-friendly.
info.
I like it.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
It's by far the best one.
so and I apologize too, because I came right from work, but are folks just seeing these for the first
First
time
time,
tonight? Okay.
yeah.
So we don't have to finalize it tonight. We have next week's meeting, so I think that, and so we can still take questions. So I would say, look through them now. If you have questions or comments, throw it up, but basically take a look at them. Any comments or additional suggestions, send in through Owen in the select board's office, and I think at next week's meeting, we'll look to kind of finalize and.
So can we send these out to our, or to the members?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And how would the survey be, who would the survey reach and how?
Right.
Do we know that?
How do we want it to go? I don't know. Like, I think we, I'm trying to think what we've done in the past. We've, posted it on social media, we posted it on the town's website. I think we'd want to advertise, so I think we would want to think about that. How do we get it out to the most people?
Right.
I know, we have had, in times, we've actually done printed copies too, and we've put those like in the senior center in the library, because sometimes certain seniors or whatever aren't comfortable on the computer, so we've allowed them, and then it usually comes into the office here, and someone like Owen would key those into the SurveyMonkey on their behalf.
And I have 3,000 people on on my email list I could send it to.
Right, that's a great way to reach the golfers, but what about the rest?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, well, we have the same thing, we have the town email list, so the people that
Right,
sign up
that's
for
what
all
she
town
asked.
announcements, so
Yeah.
that has another.
Is that somehow tied to the registered voters list? Or is that
It
a
is.
private list that you
Can you
can't
sign up for
access?
yourself?
No, you sign up for yourself, so
Yeah.
basically
Oh,
on the
okay.
town's website, you can go in and get.
Select board meeting minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You can,
Right,
you
I'm
can
just
check
thinking
off you want
about-
everything. You can check off what
Right.
you want, but we capture those.
I didn't know if we could just take like the registered voters list, because that might be the most comprehensive list.
That's
And
not-
unless
there's no
you've-
emails
no
on
email.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not sure.
No, but I think and Christie could tell us better, and she'll be here next week. But I think the plan is something like that, to go out as
Okay.
broad as we can, and we have done these. We did it for the senior center assessment that we just did. We've
Yep.
done it for a number
And
of
our rec
things.
cert, we have over 2,000 emails in our rec, I think social media,
Yeah, we'll go out to the schools.
Yeah.
With the schools, will send it out
Okay.
for us. They'll put them
Okay.
in the
Oh, that's-
virtual backpack, so
That's perfect.
yeah, we'll get it out.
All right.
But any ideas folks have of other places to go is,
Right.
I think we want it as broad as possible.
Oh, I definitely.
Yeah.
But you can use that to send it.
No, that
On
never
my
works.
screen, people.
But we can share the link. I don't know, it was working earlier. No, it's not.
At least we got a couple of good sources, right? Between Matt's list, the town, what do you call that?
It's town lists, rec lists,
Right.
schools.
Yeah.
emails,
The
schools,
send out
yeah,
that-
that's
Yeah,
huge.
that's huge, 100%.
Yeah, that'd be
70%
great.
of the town.
So our goal is to.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly.
Yeah, I think we had talked about getting it out beginning of June.
Right.
So I know because of the meeting getting pushed back, it may not, I think we had said June 1st. I think within the first kind of week of June is kind
Yeah,
of what
that'd
we're
be
looking to
great.
get this out.
And then try to give people like 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
with one reminder or something.
Yeah, you want to give them enough time, but then it's going to get to July 4th. So I think
Right.
if we get out the first week and ask for it back by like June 30th, is
Yeah.
probably
Right.
good.
Yep. Good.
I don't know enough about that screen over there to me, I don't know why it stopped working, but we can email the link out, because I think, we were gonna email the questions too, right?
Yeah.
Do you have, is this do you have? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think one of the other, so I think in some of the questions, there was, questions that use civic specifically in the questions, and the comment that came back was maybe we want to just change prior, not put the name of the restaurant, just do prior
I put
restaurant,
civic
something
in
like
there,
that,
so.
yeah.
And then I think we should tear down and rebuild cost unknown, but potentially more than 800,000. And the 800,000 isn't also a definite.
That's not a,
So
No.
I don't even know if we should put that.
That was, so these are my 10, am I allowed to say?
Yeah.
that? These are my 10 questions?
You can say- yeah.
These are my 10 questions. I guess what I was trying to capture here, because I know, there's obviously people in the community that are fiscally conservative. And so if they're saying, oh, tear it down, let's build something new, are they aware? I'm trying to just plant the seed that if we did that, it could cost more money.
yeah.
So I think it doesn't, however that needs to be worded, that's what my goal was, is how would you like, or what would you like to see the space happen? Tear it down, keep it, and, I guess that's just what I was trying to convey, is that it could cost more to tear it down and build a brand new facility.
Oh, it
And that-
definitely will.
Right.
My 5 were the ones with the boxes, and my last question was pretty much getting to the
Same thing, yeah.
Rehabilitate the existing space, new building.
And I love the question, it's like,
How do you phrase it?
yeah, and like just talking, I don't know about you guys, but I've been talking out and about at social functions and things, and they're like, oh, we totally need a new space, and well, what if that space costs $2 million? Oh, that's too much, then
Yeah.
just fix it.
I just have is it our, and then you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm very well could be. Is it our charge to decide that, though? Would that go to
No.
the building committee?
Yeah.
So I wonder if, I
That
don't
should
know,
even be in
if it, not to take it away, but I don't know if it's like, people might say, tear it down, and then if the building committee decides, oh, we can rehab it, I don't know how that looks.
Yeah, but I think it, yeah, it's not this committee's specific role of thinking about costs and what it would be, but I think that is important to get the town people thinking about it. Now, I think, as I think about this, and you don't want to lead the person taking the survey, but if either we say, or we put a question that says, would you like it to be, a town-owned, town-run building, so no restaurant. In essence, what that means is the taxpayers will pay it because, so is it a building for the use of the town, paid for by the town? Or is it a building, the town-owned building that there's getting revenue off of?
Because potentially the revenue could cover the cost of the building.
I have this feeling
right?
if you did it right, you might be able to,
Right.
with functions or whatever, you could charge enough of a lease that, we would take,
It shouldn't cover.
to build it would take out a bond, but you could basically, it's like a mortgage, you would,
Right, exactly.
you
Yeah.
could pay
You
for it.
should build that into the.
So I think you
my
could do
golf
something,
budget.
if you did it right, and I'm not an expert, but I mind thinking that you could
Same.
actually make it net zero, similar to the golf course.
It's your
Right,
or
that's what I
profit,
was just
or
gonna say,
profit.
it just,
Or, well, yeah, of course you want a profit, yes.
I mean,
My thought with the question, and it
Yeah.
goes to your point, my thought with the question is, like, if we get a resounding new building on existing footprint foundations, then we're stuck, right? We're stuck with 7,200 square feet,
Right.
2 to 3 floors. So the use of that building is then somewhat restricted, and you have to become a little more creative with the space. Whereas if it's resoundingly completely new building, well, then you can start to, use your imagination even more with what the building could be used for. So I don't think it's necessarily crossing over into,
I think you're still limited though to the footprint of the building without going into the golf course and the parking lot, the lack of parking.
well, you are
You
to
can
some
move
extent.
up.
But the point being is that, as a committee, we'll know, all right, we've got to stick to this area.
Right.
And we've got to be tight with it, so maybe the grand plans have to be scaled down, or we have to become more creative with the space. And that's what you hand off to the building committee, as opposed to, everybody wants everything, so
Right.
have at it,
Right.
like,
Mhm.
Right.
And it's too bad that everyone couldn't do a virtual walk through the existing building to see.
yeah. That was very eye-opening for
It's
me
very
personally. I only ever saw it
Well, why
from the
couldn't it be done?
outside.
Probably could.
Why can't the TV station go through it and do a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And do a 15-minute.
Kind of like when
Yeah,
you
that's
look at a house, you can do the virtual.
Virtual
Might
tour.
not be a
And
bad idea.
that's a
Virtual
great idea.
tour.
See what we
And-
saw.
And I think it actually, the prior owner, the Civic owner, I think has cleaned it now, so we saw it. Because
Where
he had sent
it
his
was
cleaners,
pretty
but
bad.
the doors was locked, they couldn't get in, but that was a condition of him leaving, he had to
Yeah.
leave it clean, so. hopefully-
I can check and let you guys know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that's a great idea, and I would say somehow tie the video to the survey so that when they're taking the survey, they can click on the link to see the video first. Because if you want people to go find it on Westborough TV, on YouTube or something, they're not gonna.
Yeah.
People are gonna be
We have to
lazy,
do
I
that.
think. You know?
Yeah, that's actually a very good
But,
idea.
but then also, don't you have to educate them, like, we got educated on, that $800,000 evaluation, that is not comprehensive.
No.
And to rehab that space is gonna be much more than that.
Right.
And so just to say to someone, hey, do you wanna rehab the existing space, or do you wanna, raise the
Raise it,
building?
yeah.
For what, I'm going from one extreme to the other, but it's not being fair, because the 800,000 is not representative.
Well, we don't have to put that in. Like I said, I was just explaining why.
I think
put
we
it.
should say somewhere where, or maybe put a little foundation around it, like, by the way, there's a virtual tour of the building, and by the way, a comprehensive study was done.
And here's a link to it.
Right.
And here's a
right.
link to it, or here's, I think there's some pages in that.
Just to get up to code.
Yeah,
And that's not even comprehensive, it could be a lot worse than that.
right, once you open the walls, like we said.
You
Yeah.
start peeling back.
Yeah,
the
exactly,
onions.
yeah.
I mean, for example, we don't know yet, because it's still final numbers, but like for Hastings, because what we do is to make it ADA compliant, which is costing millions
Yeah.
to make that compliant, to get bathrooms the right size, and just, right now, that we don't even have doorways that we can get into, all that stuff for ADA compliant, I mean, so it would be a gutted spot, so it's gonna be expensive, but, yeah, I think if people could see, it'd be a lot of work, but it could be
You
done.
would have to make it ADA compliant when we
Absolutely, you'd have to.
which that would
Absolutely.
cost
You can't not.
quite a bit. The bathrooms are small, there's no way for
Oh,
people to
yeah,
get in and out.
it's,
Right.
Very small.
It's rough.
But again, then creating as you said, Ian, creating the financial structure around it with leasing out that restaurant space, so we can make it minimally zero cost to the
Yeah,
town.
and I don't want to say that, because that gets to be,
Oh,
that's
no,
leading
no.
the witness there,
Right.
but in some ways, it maybe it's as simple as, do you want it to be a town-owned building
Yeah,
for use by the town, but basically non-revenue generating or revenue generating for the town? Maybe that's still lead, I don't know the right way to do it, but I think, and maybe there's other ideas for revenue generating, but it's,
but beyond what we've talked about here, right, which is more around, food and beverage, right, and some, I'll call it active space, and then leaving the golf shop. I mean, those are really the three key things that we've been talking about so far, unless there's something else out there in terms of use of that space, correct? So shouldn't the questions around that be, do you verify, do you town members validate those? And then secondly, do you have any other ideas that we want to vet out?
Right.
I don't want to get to town meeting and people say, hey, you didn't consider anything that I submitted.
Yep.
And do we talk a little bit about what happens, in the absence of this decision? Like, this building cannot stay empty, unoccupied. Something has to happen with it. So regardless, there is a cost. It may not be an immediate cost quite as much as like demolishing the building and starting fresh, but there is a long-term expense to having something like this sit there.
Yep.
I mean,
Absolutely, it's not getting any better.
No.
I mean, the good news is we can run the golf shop as is, it's kind of
Yep.
sectioned off
Yeah.
that. But, yeah, and the problem we have now is we can't really do anything in that other section without doing work and spending money.
Right.
It's rough, I think, for the golfers now, because I think we have people constantly coming, asking every day, like especially people that golf there.
Yeah,
There's nowhere to get a drink, there's nowhere to get, there's nothing, like, basically.
yeah.
but it
But
wasn't
drink, I mean, what, just, it could be.
a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of golfers weren't going in there even when it was there. I guess there were some decisions way before my time that caused a lot of hard feelings. So a lot of people would not step foot in that building that were golfers, but, so it didn't, some people did, but a lot of people would not. I actually had people join the club because they were gone.
Oh.
So
there was bad blood from.
there was a lot of bad blood somehow before my time.
Do you expect that bad blood to continue?
No,
or-
'cause it's a
okay,
different-
It's just like they just
That-
didn't
that
have
was
the
that-
ownership.
That was that whole thing.
It
Everything
was a
starts
sub,
from
all right,
scratch.
it was a subset of golfers
Right,
who
it
were
wasn't
looking
a lot.
for an inexpensive beer and a dog to sit in a space where they could just stand and overlook the golf course while they're watching some of their buddies come down the course. This is the way I mean, I've been there. a
Yeah,
long
I
time.
wasn't there.
Yeah,
so-
and,
what I'd say is,
and the
again-
restaurant didn't accommodate them, and there wasn't a space for them to stand in, and there was a big friction between the groups.
Okay.
And the Civic didn't help itself any.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. The Civic had their concept,
Yeah.
which was kind of a
Farm to table.
farm to table, and golfers wanted hot dogs and
A few.
I see.
cheap beer, whatever, they wanted something like that.
I don't think they ever
So
produced
there was a
Yeah,
mix.
it was
plenty of times with many
oil and
golfers.
water.
Yeah.
I got
I
it.
think towards the end, there were golfers in there more.
Well, when I took over, we started kind of fixing that
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
A new GM started when I started, so he and I sat down.
That's
and
true.
kind of-
Yeah, that's true, Matt.
Is there any
And
kind
they
of,
actually started, we expanded their license, so they actually were selling alcohol
To
to
the
golfers,
golfers.
but they also at times would set up a table right at the
Yeah.
first tee, between the first and ninth.
They
and
did
actually-
food
Yeah,
service.
They did food.
since I took over, the relationship got a lot better.
Yeah.
okay, were the golfers offered any kind of discount?
No,
Actually, not with Civic. It's a long story. That building's been a number of different things. Civic basically came in and bought into the current lease, so the lease was 10 years. And Mike Hightower ran it for 5. And he did a lot of the rehab, he built the deck and all that, and then he realized that he was a greens superintendent and didn't want to run the restaurant and wanted to spend more time with his family, so he leased it out. So they ended up taking it a 5-year term, but from a town's perspective, you know, we've learned through that whole thing too, and that's why I said with the RFP, if it went this direction, we would ensure that we build an RFP that catered to everything that, you know, we decide as a group that you want there. So
And
if
before
it's
we-
space and function space and
Right.
restaurant, it's gonna,
When we were thinking about having an RFP, we found one from the Cape that it was very specific, the RFP. It was like from 2:30 to 4:30, you're catering to the high school golfer with like, and they had a specific menu, so it's definitely doable.
Okay, yeah, I would
Yeah,
think that
like, I don't know, I'm not saying that we need to be that specific, but they had in there that any menu changes had to be approved with their golf pro. So it built in, it was only
good.
one way to work together, you had to work together, so it's definitely doable.
Okay,
and I think one thing, I mean, just to be clear from my side, 'cause we're talking a lot about that, is I don't think that this is not a, going back to the country club, this is not a country club that this is only for golfers.
Right.
To me, to make this successful, to get a good restaurant, it's something for the community,
yes.
but also pays attention, I guess I'll call it, pays attention to the
yeah.
golfers, so it's.
That's why I'm like, give the golfers a 20% discount on food and beverage,
Yeah.
or
Well, that's
offer
why
a
I'm back. I
golf
think
happy
Mike
hour.
did
or-
that.
Mike
There was
did
a
that.
card.
Mike did that.
You had
Okay.
Mike Hightower did that, there was a
Yeah.
card.
You know.
went
You had
way
your little
before.
card.
Okay,
That was way before my
I
time.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Seems like it shouldn't be hard to.
No, those are things
make
that-
that work.
it's like the golf.
That's like
cart.
way far down the line, I get it.
Yeah.
Good, I mean, but as good businesses,
not
yeah, of
our-
course you do that.
Right.
Yeah, you don't wanna piss off the people that are,
You have a captive audience. and
Right.
You want to draw them in.
That
plus
are
the
there every day.
folks in town, right?
So the questions, how are we going to vet these through so we can get like one set that we can all approve before they go out?
Well, I think that's why we want to, goes into our next thing. So I think if we get, everyone puts final survey questions in, we'll spend the next meeting, and we'll get them out ahead of time, and we'll spend time the next meeting
Okay.
vetting through them.
So should we edit these
Edit
individually
these
and
and
send it
add,
to Owen?
and add, individual ones and,
Okay. Okay,
What we did for the senior, I was a part of the senior needs assessment survey, and it's long, it takes a while, but
I know.
we went through each question and everyone sort of gave their opinion, and we came up with, I think, a good set. This will be shorter than the senior needs assessment, but I think that's one way to do it.
okay, so we'll each take an attempt to vet it out, kind of consolidate the questions into one succinct question.
Set of questions, yeah.
handful.
And then
So if
Owen
there's
will
some
give
here
us a
that-
new one of
yeah.
this, and
I'm
then
sure
Owen
there's
will give us-
overlaps.
Yeah, and then I think we'll get another one of these with everybody's final kind of tweaks, and then maybe next meeting we can go through them.
Yeah.
Kind of question, but then we can, I think, we can play with the order too, if we feel we want to, I think, I don't want to take over, but that's,
Yeah.
I think what we could do.
Okay.
And I think we all agree, right, stuff, there's, these are two different people, but not a lot of us, keep it short and simple.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Yeah.
yeah, okay. All right, we have a homework assignment.
So we have homework assignment, to do that, we will send the link out, whatever. I think for the next meeting, the other thing that we had talked about, and Jen, I look at you, is that we had talked.
We're working, I'm trying to get a golf pro here that works with the restaurant. I know it's busy, so it hasn't been as easy as I thought it would, but I'm hopeful that we'll have somebody, whether it's the golf pro from Groton, but I've also reached out to a couple of other towns as well that have restaurants.
Could we ask them to bring some financial information as well? Like, how much do you make off of, outings, how many,
Sure.
golfers you have through,
That would be
sort of
really
thing?
good.
I reached out to Stowe Acres as well, Opakachot in Auburn. No, I didn't know, they don't have a restaurant. I forget who else, somebody else, Natick. No, I was going to something else.
Do they lease out the restaurant?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be able to make it next week, so do you want me to email my edits, thoughts,
Yes.
inputs on these, or are more gonna be coming?
We're gonna send this out, and then any edits you have on these, plus if you have additional ones, and then we'll get that last group will be sent out ahead of the meeting. So you're away, I'm not sure if you'll be able to get it.
Oh, actually, yeah, I don't, I probably won't even, I don't know. I'll do what I can.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be in the country, so I'm gonna be,
Well, if, will the questions go out, Jen, can the questions go out tomorrow? Yeah.
I'm gonna be out. of the
Any-
country.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Yeah.
Can you send these questions out like
Yeah, do it
tomorrow?
tonight, yeah.
Yeah, we can do it tonight,
Yeah.
along with that link that, or the,
I'll
Yep.
try.
what Owen
I'll
put
try.
together,
Yeah,
so.
and then, yeah, okay, and then we'll have it done for
Well,
next week for those of us.
Yeah, so we'll see what, yeah, our goal will be for next week that we get that out and whatever. It's, if we don't feel we're there, who knows the timing? I mean, we may have to go an additional
Okay,
meeting to finalize it, to get it out, but,
okay.
which gets into another topic, talk about the next meeting, so.
Should we also reach out to Karen Henderson about doing a
Virtual tour,
tour?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can do that.
okay, thank you.
And then next meeting is, so when are we doing it next week?
Well, here's the thing, I had sent out last night, without talking to my wife, which was a bad thing, that I could do Tuesday, and we have an event Tuesday, so I can't do Tuesday. So I would, hoping we might be able to go back to the original Wednesday, because I think people could do that. Does that work?
I can do Wednesday.
I can do Wednesday.
Okay, so we have enough, yeah, we'll have a quorum.
So we have a
Wednesday,
quorum.
We'll repost that for Wednesday.
Christy said she can do Wednesday as well.
She
so-
Okay.
Yep.
So let's
I'll
repost it.
I'll be there.
Okay.
I've just,
And then it was brought to my attention too, that if we needed a third, that the select board, the way your schedule is, that actually that first Tuesday in June is also
Free.
free. So if we did feel we needed another meeting before we sent the survey out.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens Wednesday. If we
Yeah.
need to, we can post for the following.
Okay.
Yeah.
So look at your calendars, potentially that following Tuesday.
I'm
Okay.
good on that Tuesday.
Looks good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Because that would still allow us to finalize and get it out by the end of that first
The end of the
week.
week.
Okay,
Okay.
And maybe we
can we block it?
do that anyways. Let's
The sixth?
book it
Okay.
6:30?
6:30.
6:30 on the sixth, okay.
Hopefully there's no traffic and rain out of Boston. But, and as I'm thinking about it, maybe what we do is we go through the questions, try to get it. It's gonna take Owen a little bit of time to get the Survey Monkey. We could use that next meeting just to finalize it, finalize how it looked. He could maybe even ask him to present it to us in that meeting. And then we could press the button and get it out.
I was just gonna ask a question, because I wasn't at the first building tour, but do we have like a milestone view of what we need to do month over month to get a decision by October? Is there something we have to meet on a monthly basis? Like survey is one, obviously we're gonna have to do that, right? The RFP is further down the road, but what do we need to do for this committee to be successful, other than proposing obviously what we need to do? Is there a set agenda or set milestones that we need to meet as a committee?
Not that I remember.
But that would be a good thing to
Yes.
create like
Yeah, I think
a,
from going
A goal.
back in terms of what that goals are, I
Yeah.
think it's, we got, in that first meeting, we got pretty tactical in this stuff, but I think that,
Okay.
let me take that away.
I mean, is our goal to bring to town meeting in the fall what our recommendation is for the use of the building?
Or is it to town meeting or to select board?
Select
board.
Select board, yeah, no, that's okay, no, I
Yeah.
was just,
The select board?
Yeah.
In the fall,
Yes,
October 1st.
October 1st.
October 1st.
So that was the date that we were given, so for us to be cleared, so it's kind of working back from October 1st, so I think it's, so we can think about putting
Yeah.
something more specific and talk through that with them.
Sure. I can help with that.
Okay.
And did you say you didn't able to tour the building the first time?
I did not, but I did read the report.
If you ever want to take a tour, just let me know and I can,
you 100%
Yeah.
should. It's
yeah,
very
Good
just,
attitude,
just,
Matt.
I'll give you a business card and just call me and I can take you on the tour.
Okay.
And Matt, maybe I'll have Karen put you in contact, or I'll tell Karen to contact you to let her in and.
Yeah, definitely, just let me know. I'm there pretty much every day.
Okay, great.
Except Monday.
No, I'm usually there on Mondays now, right now too.
Okay.
You live there.
much.
I know.
That's a
better.
good point you made, though.
busy,
If you envision,
I
like,
know,
what
it's
is that
been-
end
it's been
product look like in
crazy.
terms of a recommendation?
Yeah.
What is going to be inside that recommendation to
Yeah.
the select board?
Yeah, I think it definitely would be good for you to see it.
And smell it.
No,
Floor.
maybe you don't want to come now.
And
Yeah,
don't touch anything.
don't wear some comfortable shoes that you don't, it's a little sticky upstairs.
A little bit.
Wear your galoshes.
It's not that bad.
Anything else that folks want on the next agenda? So we'll have we'll basically do that and we'll get,
A golf pro from somewhere. And then should we do like goal setting at that
and
next
then
meeting
maybe
as
goal
well?
setting, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll put that on.
yeah.
And maybe what we can do is talk about that. If we meet on the 5th, we'll finalize the survey and we can
We'll be done.
finalize the goals and
Yeah.
steps of that.
The 5th or the 6th?
The
6.
6th, sorry.
6th. So then by then we should be able to get then the survey out to folks, then we get the inputs in the month of June. So
Yeah.
then it's really July and August in terms of synthesizing the information and.
And then September, we work on our report out.
Yeah,
recommendations
report out.
yeah.
I don't think there's anything else from an input standpoint that we need, that we know of right now.
Yeah, I think the survey, getting out to as many people and,
Yeah, getting their inputs.
yeah,
Okay.
cool. Anything else for folks?
Oh, that was great. Yeah, thanks Jen and Matt.
Yeah.
No,
You guys were quick.
I don't waste time.
Succinct.
Move to adjourn.
People see this,
It's pretty simple.
Move to
is there a
adjourn?
second?
I second it.
All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
We, for the next agenda, we do need to put the minutes